Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. Welcome to the show. Now, I'm going to mention this right now, and I may mention it if I remember during the show. This is a pre-recorded show. It is pre-recorded. Though we're showing it live, it is still a pre-recorded show. So you can go ahead and make your comments, but, if we don't pay attention to them and we don't answer them or whatever, it's because the show is pre-recorded.
It is pre-recorded.
Yeah. Let me say that one more time.
We just want to make sure.
Anyway, we're glad that you decided to watch the show and to join our audience, whether you're watching us live on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. or you're listening to the podcast or watching the podcast at another time. We're really glad you decided to watch our show.
Can you believe we're almost halfway through September already? This is amazing.
No.
It's crazy. Hey, I want to remind everybody about Episode Rewind coming up this Saturday, 5:30 p.m. right here where you're watching right now. That'll be the, not sure what the date is going to be on that one. But, it's episode 24, and it's Irish author Angela Byrne.
Really, if you haven't seen her
episode.
Already, tune into that pre-record.
Yeah. She and her husband run a bed and breakfast over there in Ireland. And she writes about their Irish history of the area there.
She's also an Irish singer. She's been on Irish TV. I mean, she's really a fascinating person. And she comes to San Diego every year and is the ambassador on the St. Patrick's Day parade. Yeah.
I don't think she has since COVID, but
yes, she did. She came. Mm-hmm. She came last St. Patrick's Day. She invited us to go.
That's right. She did invite us. How come we didn't go?
Because it was in San Diego.
Oh, it was in San Diego. Oh, yeah, other coast. Oh, well. Also, next Wednesday will be the 28th of September, I believe. And it's 7 o'clock, our show. This one live is not going to be live. It is also a pre-recorded episode. UK author, publisher, and editor Shara Lewis Campbell is going to be on. That's a really good episode.
It's
a new episode.
She's really something.
And events coming up on October 5th, just a couple weeks away here, is Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles Reveal Part 3. Back to Magnolia Bluff, Texas, where we have the last three authors in the first 9 installments of Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles. Linda Pirtle will be the October release. Kelly Marshall will be on the show too with her November release. And Jinx Schwartz as well with her December release.
I can't believe it's the end finally of that series.
Right, I know.
It was.
I know.
It came fast.
I recently finished book
2,
and I'm working on book number
3.
3. I may be close to getting it done, but fascinating. It's really good. It's really great to have the different perspectives from the different authors
the same town,
about the same town
and
with
the same
intermingling
people.
Characters. Yeah.
Unless they've already been murdered, then they're not in the next book.
Not able to be in there. So, but it's 9 separate authors that are doing this, and it's just an incredible experience.
Right.
It really is. It's different. So.
Yeah. So anyway, let's not keep our author waiting anymore.
No, let's not do that.
But first, we have this.
We want to give you a little preview here
of what the show will be about.
Shaniqua, here we go.
Parents, I know it can be hard to explain to your children why their brother or sister isn't coming home from the hospital. Nursery in the Sky is a light and comforting way to discuss it for the whole family. In fact, it's a perfect way for school counselors, therapists, churches, and other organizations to talk about a really difficult loss. Now, when I feel big feelings about my sister not being with us, I know I can talk to my mommy and daddy anytime. And I know that while Sissy isn't here with us, she's doing just fine in her Nursery in the Sky. Nursery in the Sky is available now on Amazon. Get your copy today. To learn more about Nursery in the Sky, visit escaranja.com.
That was beautiful.
Very good, doesn't it?
I love it.
So without much ado,
let's bring on the real deal.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, Shaniqua. How are you doing?
Good. How about you guys?
Good. We're kind of losing your video a little bit. I'm not sure what's going on.
Uh-oh.
There was a little bit of a delay.
I see. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can.
We can now. Yeah. Whew. That was a little strange.
Scary at times.
Well, it is a pre-record. We could have just redone it.
Well, that is true. That is true. Not exactly world ending, is it?
No. Well, this is a very important subject that you've written about. And I don't know if you'd like to talk about that a little bit.
I would. So infant loss is very important to me because it is something that my family has experienced. Actually, not just myself, but my siblings as well. In my big family, we have lost 7 babies over the course of, I think, 10 years. So it is a near and dear subject to us. And we do whatever we can to bring comfort and awareness to the very real topic of infant loss. And I thank you guys so much for letting me come here today and talk to you guys about it.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming here. As you know, we experienced that in our own family, an infant loss. And it happens to a lot of families across the board. Doesn't matter who you are.
In fact,
it doesn't matter what your socioeconomic group is. Everyone has experience.
But this is something that what you're doing here is something that we don't really think about a lot, and that's how are our children dealing with this loss?
It's hard.
We think about processing our own and then we go on, but how are our own children?
Yes.
So,
it's interesting because, 1 in 4 pregnancies can result in loss.
That's a lot.
Just the thought that many losses can happen, you would think that we would have more resources out there, not just for the family, as far as the parents who are experiencing the loss, but for the children who are a part of those families. And when I was going through the loss, and of course, a lot of women, they spend a lot of time looking up different things because there's so many unanswered questions. There's so many things like, what could I have done differently? Or, you don't really get many answers. So you start researching. And in the process of that research, there wasn't really a lot of things that I saw that was specific to how would I talk to my child. Now, my oldest, who is now 8, he was almost 2 when this happened. And so he was still very small. He didn't understand what was going on, but he saw mommy crying. And believe it or not, even at that young age, that's scary to a child. They don't know what's going on. And I was in this really stuck place in my grief where here he is, and I'm seeing him right there. I see how he's clinging, trying to hug me. But at the same time, I'm in agony. And I don't know how to bridge this gap of being able to deal with my loss and comfort him in the process. And the truth is that happens to quite a bit of other families. And I knew then, well, not right then, but I knew eventually that this was something that I wanted to address. I wanted to be able to play even a small part in putting something out there that can bring comfort to a family, but also give them guidance on maybe how they can bridge that topic with their children, with their living children.
Let me bring up the cover of your book.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Nursery in the Sky. And as you can see, there's a family
Yes.
standing in front of a house because it's about a family loss.
Yes. And the little one there, the boy in the front cover, he's actually inspired by my little one's actual likeness at the time. Well, close to the time when we started writing it, that's what he looked like. And so the illustrator was able to capture him pretty much perfectly.
Let me show your family so they can see what you look like now.
That's my husband.
A handsome family.
Yes, this is my husband, Benjamin. And then the oldest is Benjamin Jr. And then the youngest, my rainbow baby, that is Kingston.
Why do you call him your rainbow baby?
Kingston is my rainbow baby because in the infant loss community, a child after a loss is considered a rainbow after the storm.
A promise.
And so he is my rainbow baby. In fact, I always call him my little rainbow. I'm like, hey, rainbow. Doesn't mind for now. He's 6. I'm sure eventually he'll be like, okay, mom, with rainbow.
No kidding.
Let's go back to the cover for a second.
Sure. I love the cover.
Yeah.
There we go.
Thank you.
I see the little boy is pointing up at a butterfly.
Yes.
Is there a significance there?
Yes. So for our family, butterflies are symbolic of our sweet baby girl. Our sweet angel, her name is Samantha. That's what we named her. And we often tell our boys when we see butterflies, oh, look, Sissy saying hello. So you'll actually notice throughout this whole series, because this is the first one, but it's actually a 4-book series.
Oh,
4 books, there will be elements of butterflies because it symbolizes her presence as far as being able to say hello and send little messages and joy to the boys and to our family.
that's wonderful. Well, let me bring up, we know that 2 days after this podcast is on, that this book will be coming out.
Yes, this is book 2. It's called Special Delivery from the Nursery in the Sky, and it is about a rainbow baby. So this is where little Kingston is introduced. And Kingston had a lot to say about what he was supposed to look like in this book as far as being a baby.
And I see Benjamin is standing there by.
Yes, he is.
If you look through the window in the back, you can see the butterfly as well.
A butterfly and a rainbow. And so there are little, throughout both books, the first one and the second one, there are little comforting symbols and trinkets throughout, actually. The rainbow for this book is throughout. I cannot wait for people to see the title page of this book. It's so adorable. Definitely something to look forward to. Yeah.
You can see the rainbow on the cover, through the window and at the top of the cover too. And Those of you that are listening on the podcast and not watching the podcast, well, you just have to go to Amazon and look it up and see how cute it is.
Yeah, and buy the book.
And buy the book.
Yes, please do. And look, I'll tell you this, Benjamin, my little one, the oldest, who basically walked with me through this process, he had a lot to say throughout the process of illustrating the book. He was the one to tell me, hey, I want this color here, that color there, remove this element. He was very specific.
Very helpful.
Oh, yes, very much so. And so he had to approve every element of both books.
That's funny.
And it's great too.
It is great.
And I'm glad you let him do that
Yeah.
so that he could be a part of the whole thing.
Well, the thought process for our family is he's a part of the grief process. You know, he has his own grief as it relates to the fact that him and my youngest, they often want a sister here. And they say that all the time. They, you know, we love Sissy. And we don't like that she has to live in the nursery in the sky, but we want a sister here. They often tell us that. So that's their own version of grieving what they don't have. And I feel like I would be remiss if I wouldn't allow them to be a part of what comforts me, which is writing these books. And so I think it's important for families to be as creative as they can to allow their children their process also. And if it works for me, and you know, as far as how I'm working through the loss and my little ones want to be a part of it, then absolutely I'm gonna have them join in. And who knows, they might have their own book that they write soon.
Yes. Well, you know, I think everyone needs to process grief in their own way. And, you know, everyone processes everything differently because we're all unique, right? And so you have to let them process it the way they need to process it. Just like there's no right way or wrong way for you to process this.
No. And it's interesting because I am a volunteer within a community of people who are walking through this process, whether it was a miscarriage, stillbirth, ectopic pregnancy, whatever the type of loss is, you know. And the one thing that I can say I've noticed is that the first thing that goes is comparison. Nobody compares. Everyone is open to the idea that, okay, if this is working for Sheila, this is working for Meredith, then that's what we're going to do. And I love that. It's not a community that you want to be a part of, but when you become a part of it, everyone is near and dear, and they take care of each other, and they allow for that room to express however way it's necessary.
We have, as I told you earlier, 6 children. What I didn't tell you is I have had a number of miscarriages myself. And I remember that I went in when our youngest daughter was 2, I had a miscarriage. And I went in for the ultrasound afterwards. And the technician was describing what they saw in great detail. And I started to cry, not loud or anything, just tears were coming down my face. And the female technician turned to me and said, "Are you crying?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "You've had 6 children. Why are you crying?" And I said, "Because I've had 6 children." So
people don't, you know,
it's not unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. It's infuriating on so many levels.
It's sad.
To condense, I'm going to condense it as much as I can, the story. So we were supposed to never be able to have children for a few other reasons. And when we had BJ, he was a complete miracle. We were so very blessed. We kind of thought it was a fluke too. We were just afraid to get too excited because we were thinking, okay, somehow this miracle slipped through, and that's what we are seeing. And so when we got pregnant with baby Samantha, it was shocking again. My doctor at the time was not very nice about it. In fact, because BJ's pregnancy was so difficult, but we again thought it was a fluke. And so when we did lose her, so I went for an ultrasound. Well, I actually went for a regular appointment, and my doctor decided at random, hey, let's do an ultrasound. And of course, as a mom to be, I'm really excited about the thought of doing it. The tech, she asked me about the due date, and I told her what the doctor had told me it was supposed to be. And she goes, maybe they got it wrong. The baby's not measuring the way that they said. Now, I didn't know this then, but I know it now. The tech is actually not supposed to tell you.
No, they're not supposed to tell you anything.
Doctor. Right. Mm-hmm. So she's like, the baby's not measuring to that due date. Maybe they got it wrong. So she's kind of looking. I'm going on and on because to me, the way that she's jostling the wand, the baby looks like she's moving. So I'm going on and on talking about, and my little one, BJ, was actually in his stroller in the room because my husband was at work. And so I'm saying, BJ, look, the baby's got a big head just like you, just, making mommy jokes and things. And so the tech was like, well, I'm going to get the doctor so she can come in and, confirm the measurements and things. And so I got this feeling that I can't really describe it, but I wasn't worried until she said she was going to get the doctor. And all of a sudden I just felt strange. And then the doctor came in and I saw a look on her face that told me something was wrong. And there's no other way to put it. It's like she ripped the bandage off. She was like, there's no heartbeat. She was not very kind about it. First, there's no heartbeat. That's something that plays in your mind for years and years and years. In fact, I feel like sometimes you never unhear those words. But she wasn't very kind in how she said it. She immediately told me of options because although it was 13 weeks, baby measured at 9 weeks. So she had stopped living at 9 weeks, but my body was not recognizing the loss. And so she started going immediately into the fact that, something could go wrong. There could be an infection, all kinds of things if we don't do something. But I literally just got the shock of news and my husband's not here. There's so many things going on, but you want me to choose right now what we're going to do about it. And so I'm crying. I'm upset. Baby's now crying. They leave the room. No one has offered to even help with trying to comfort him. And I have to call my husband who's at work and tell him. And I do. And we decided to go the route of a D&C. And because the way that they talked to us about it was that this had to be done because of how long she had been there, not thriving. And so they scheduled the D&C a week out from the day they told me, which I also learned later normally doesn't happen. They normally do it sooner. Yeah. So I had to go a week knowing of the loss, hoping and praying that it would be different, things that maybe they were wrong somehow. And I remember calling the doctor's office and asking, hey, on the day of the surgery, will y'all check again? And they told me no, they wouldn't check again. Now, if they do or don't, I still don't know to this day, but they told me they would not be checking again. It's an absolute that she's gone. So it was a very traumatizing experience. And just even going for the surgery in itself was a whole nother trauma. But I don't know. I'll tell you what, I do get it. And I understand that in their profession, they see this so often. I mean, we just said 1 in 4, right? Mm-hmm. However, if there's a way to steel yourself as a medical professional, yet still be comforting and caring, that would be the way, but
absolutely.
There's so many people who have stories like mine and like yours, and it's so very sad.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that it may be 1 in 4, but to you, it's your baby now. Right. It's not 1 in 4. And who cares about statistics?
Yeah.
Right.
Your baby is your baby.
Yes.
once you're pregnant, that's your baby, and you start making plans for their life and their nursery and all kinds of things like that.
Yes.
And and I had more than one. And of course, they told me that I probably, wouldn't be able to get pregnant because I had a tipped uterus.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what caused a lot of my miscarriages early on when I was younger, was that the baby would grow to a certain size, and then it would actually disengage from the uterus, and I would have a miscarriage. And and now there are things that they can do that are able to carry it. But I'm 75 years old. So when all this was going on was a long time ago, and they hadn't done all of that stuff. And I think people, don't know until you've gone through it, what you're going through. And it affects not only you, but as you said, your whole family. It affects your husband. It affects their parents. It affects your parents. I mean, it just affects everyone. It's a huge loss. It's something that you're hoping for, planning on,
right,
and looking forward to.
And it's literally ripped away from you.
Right. It's something, because with BJ having been so small, the room is still set up, and our thought process was, we're just going to leave the room as is for this next baby. And so when we lost her, now we didn't know at the time that she was a girl. It wasn't until after the surgery that they did genetics testing and told us that she was a girl. But I couldn't go in the nursery. I couldn't go in there. That door stayed closed. I don't even know how long at this point. I think it was almost a year. And there were some really kind friends who tried every now and again to ask me if I was ready to go in and take down baby stuff and things of that nature. And there were times I wasn't ready, but when I was ready, we did it. It was very hard. But we took care of what was needed. BJ ended up being a baby that slept in our room because I didn't want to go in the nursery. It was an interesting time. And even now, this is the thing. Samantha would be 7 in April. She would have been 7 April of this year. And it still hurts to talk about. I know women who are in their 70s who still pour into the infant loss community, and they still talk about how it has affected them and how it still affects them. So that's another part of why this is so important to me, is because I need for people to know and understand that as they're trying to rush someone to close this particular part of their life and act as if it never happened, it doesn't happen that way. And it's an unfair expectation, because this is what I say. Just because the child isn't here, just because, family members and friends didn't get a chance to hold this baby or to bring over gifts and all these other things, that doesn't mean this child didn't exist and wasn't so very important to their parents and their families. And so we shouldn't be so quick to try to force people to brush it off or get over it. That's I hate that saying, get over it or anything like that. And I see that all the time. It's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We need to be more aware.
We do.
More sensitive.
Speaking of being aware, we need to take a break.
We need a word from our
sponsor. What we're going to do is something different tonight. We're going to just have one commercial break.
All right.
And we'll see you in about 3 minutes. And so stand by. Nobody go away. Okay.
All right. We're just going to do this once.
We'll come back. We'll continue this conversation and do
until the close of the show.
Right. And do our
surprise people
and do our book giveaway and all that when we come back.
Okay.
Stand by. Don't go away.
They thought the siren was dead. In the novel Siren Song by author George Dismukes. James Harmon shot her twice. Several people saw her dead.
At Indie Booksource, you can shop by genre or by author, and you will be buying direct from the author's main purchase link. We offer hundreds of titles in formats that include ebooks, paperback, hardbound, and audiobook. Support an indie author. Visit indiebooksource.com today.
Live every Wednesday, your Voice of Indie hosts Beam Weeks and Stephen Gees welcome authors, musicians, publishing industry pros, artists, and assorted creative guests for an exciting interactive hour. Call in during the show or post questions and comments on Twitter for responses in real time. Meet your favorite indie creators, learn inside tips, network, and promote your work. The link for each week's show is pinned on Twitter atop @VoiceOfIndie. And you can receive the link every Wednesday morning in your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter at freshinkgroup.com. Check out Voice of Indie every Wednesday on Blog Talk Radio and catch hundreds of episodes archived everywhere from our websites to our YouTube channel and Spotify.
Many secrets are hidden within the darkness of the jungle. Behold, this one about a man, a woman, a black jaguar, and an ancient Maya legend. Two Faces of the Jaguar is a novel by George Dismukes that will take you deep into the jungle and capture your imagination until the last word. Two Faces of the Jaguar is book one of a trilogy. Two Faces of the Jaguar, where only the adventurous dare to read.
Two Faces of the Jaguar, The Lost City, and The Jaguar's Quest are available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites. Two Faces of the Jaguar, the book people are talking about. Get your copy today.
They thought the siren was dead. In the novel, Siren Song, by author George Dismukes, James Harmon shot her twice. Several people saw her dead body sinking slowly into the abyss. But now, in Siren Song 2, evidence suggests that she may still be alive.
She killed that boatload of people. It was her! She's just getting started!
Angie, that's impossible.
The cold chill up my spine tells me it's not impossible. We've got to start all over again. And this time, do it right.
Siren Song 2. The story continues. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites. Get your copy today.
Oh, welcome
That
back.
was a little strange.
Yeah, sorry about the little technical glitch
Siren
there.
Song
but,
2 was very echoey. I don't know what was going on there,
yeah,
but
second time it ran fine. So.
yes.
Anyway, thank you for your patience and welcome back. And
It's great
Oh, my goodness.
commercial, though.
Yeah.
Good books.
Yeah, that's being made into a movie.
Yeah, Siren
Wow.
Song is being made
Siren
into a movie.
Song, and then Siren Song 2 will be a movie, and then the Siren Hunter will
They're
be
they're
a
almost in
series
pre-production right at this point. So
for Siren
Nice.
Song.
they're still ironing out the last bits of it, but
Yeah,
pretty cool.
pretty exciting. Your book would be a very sad book to be made into a movie, but
It would. It would.
it probably might be a good thing too.
I wanted to ask you, talk about the community. Where do you come together? I mean, how do you, you say you're in contact with a lot of people.
So when I first experienced the loss, of course, you don't really know communities like that until you need it. There's an amazing community here. It's called Naomi Circle. It's led by a wonderful lady named Christy Bother. And she, if I remember correctly, has lost 5 little ones. And Naomi Circle is, I don't know how a lot of us would do it without it. A church welcomes the group in to use their space, their facilities, to come. We get together once a month to be able to talk about what's going on, how we're feeling. The group is broken up into different facets. So there's the person who maybe just lost someone. Then there is also a pregnancy after loss part of that group as well, because that's a whole different level of grief and joy combined, if you will. And so we come together there. And then there is a hospital called Prisma here that puts on every year this amazing walk. It's called the Hearts and Hands Walk. And it happens on or before October 15th, which is National Infant Loss Awareness Day. And so what happens is everybody from all over comes. I mean, and when I say it's like a little family reunion. It's families from all over come. They are wearing like blue or pink. Some of them are wearing pictures or little messages on their shirts, about their little ones that they lost. And then there's a beautiful lady who reads a master list of names of these sweet babies. And when your baby's name is called, different people release different things. So some people release balloons, some people release butterflies, different things. And while it's an occasion that's marked in a way by sadness, it is a really joyous one. Like, everyone loves to come back together. And on top of it, there are families who are there for the first time. Like, it's their first year. They just experienced a loss. So they all come together and kind of are there to support the newer people within the community. It's something. And there are many actually in our area that come together and support people who are experiencing losses.
Now, is Naomi's Circle a national organization, or is it specific to your area?
It's not national. It is specific to our area. I think she should be national. Honestly, that's how great it is. There is, and I don't remember the name of it because I do know that they dismantled it. I wish someone else would pick it up. There used to be an organization, because I did this one too, where you get matched. It's like a pen pal. You get matched with another mother who is a little further along in the grief process, and you write together. And there was a beautiful lady. Her name was Michelle, who wrote to me, and we wrote back and forth for, I believe, a year and some change. And she kind of helped me through the process as well. And that used to be, a really big site, and people from all over would be matched. And I don't know the reason why they ended up, whoever was in charge of it, I think it got to be too much for them and it ended. But if anyone is listening who wants to maybe restart that, that would be, it was such a great help. And I'm still friends with Michelle to this day. And we were two strangers, two different sides of the world, who, in the emails and the messages, some of it was about the loss, and others were about how we were coping. I remember she was in the process of learning how to knit socks, and I was learning how to crochet scarves, because that was what we were doing in our process. And so she would send me little pictures of her progress. And then I remember when she finally sent me a picture of an entire sock, I was cheering as if like, oh my gosh, yes, because that was just pen pals. I love it. And it's such a great way to be able to express how you're feeling without having to worry about what someone's saying or thinking or what they look like when they're reading it, because you can't see. You don't know what they're thinking.
Right. And it's difficult. In the meanwhile, they can, if you're not in, we should tell people where you are. So if they are in your area, they can find Naomi's Circle.
Yes, I'm in Columbia, South Carolina. And Naomi Circle, what I'll do is I'll make sure I put in the comments later when this streams, I'll make sure I put the links to Naomi Circle. I'll also look to see if that site with the pen pals has been reinstated. And if it has, I'll make sure I put that in there as well.
Meanwhile, if you suffered a loss like we're talking about, You can buy Nursery in the Sky, and I'm sure that would help you. And then this second book, which will be out 2 days after this podcast airs,
23rd.
is Special Delivery from the Nursery in the Sky. It's about her rainbow baby, which is a promise after a loss. I like that. Rainbow.
I like to tell people, because some people say to me, hey, I love what you're doing with the book. I didn't buy it because I never lost a baby. And I tell them, I said, well, most likely we know someone, who has. And so it also makes a good gift for a family who may have little ones, because if they don't know that it's out there, but it is, and you want to be able to provide comfort in a way that maybe you don't know what to say, which you don't have to know what to say, but maybe you don't know what to say. This is a way that you can give them something that can support them.
And help you better understand what they're going through if you read this book. And also, try and meet them where they are, not where you think they should be, but where they are. Go ahead.
I was going to say, in the back of the book, I have a resource page in there for parents, in fact.
Awesome.
That basically it has a little questions your children may ask and some helpful ways that you can answer some of the difficult questions that they may have. Like, why did this happen? Sometimes when you're trying to explain that, your brother or sister's not coming home, that's the first question. Well, why not? Well, what happened? And it's hard when you don't know yourself because you don't get answers as the person who's lost this baby. So it can be difficult to explain and give an answer to. So that is something I definitely want to just make sure people know there are resources in it. There will also be resources in the second book as well that talks about how you can support yourself, a child, and your community as it relates to pregnancy after a loss.
And this is naomiscircle.org for those of you that are watching. And for those of you listening, it's naomiscircle.org. And if you're in the area in South Carolina, then you can do that. But go ahead and buy the book. Even if you just know someone who's gone through this, it'll help you to be able to better relate and know how to listen and help. If you want to get in touch with Shaniqua, her website is skaranja.com. We did mention your name is Shaniqua A. Karanja, didn't we? Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, I totally lost the whole conversation there. The website is skaranja.com, and that is spelled Skaranja. If you want to pop into her Facebook, you can go to knits.book, and knits is spelled NITS. .book. I think you can spell book. Pretty sure. And her email is info@skaranja.com, info, that little @ sign, skaranja.com.
Let's go ahead and do the book giveaway, give people a chance to get typing here. To get for this book giveaway, I wanted to also mention this is a pre-recorded show. If you don't watch it when it airs at 7 o'clock on the 21st of September, and you're just listening to it after the fact, go ahead and enter. Often when it first airs, there maybe not all the books are given away yet. So if it's like a couple of weeks later and you're really interested, go ahead and email, and on the outside chance that maybe they weren't all given away, I'm sure Shaniqua would be very happy to hear from you anyway, yes. Whether you want a book or not. So here is the book giveaway. The first 3 people to email info@skaranja.com will win an ebook copy of choice of either one of the first 2 books.
Right. And I wanted to also mention, I don't know how I neglected to mention this. One of the beautiful things that have come from just basically surviving a loss, if you will, is that we started a nonprofit organization called Grief Compassion Network in our area as well. And so Grief Compassion Network is where we provide counseling to grieving families. And we provide this counseling a certain number of sessions at no cost.
That's wonderful.
When a person is going through a loss, there's a lot that they have going on. There's a lot of financial responsibilities that are connected that people don't realize. You're taking time off work. There may be a ceremony or something that you're doing. And so for that reason, we want to make sure that people have the opportunity to get the support that they need, and that they're not held back by costs. So Grief Compassion Network is in our local community, but we provide these services locally and virtually for those who may need it. So,
and how is there a website for that?
Yes, griefcompassionnetwork.org.
Okay.
Grief Compassion. It's a nice short name.
Super long.
Network.com. .org.
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 .org. Griefcompassion.com. .org. Oh, geez.
That's a long one.
Good.
Glad it's not .net. That would be very confusing.
Yes.
So here we call it, within the organization, we say GCN. Just to shorten it, it is a mouthful.
That's not going to work on trying to get it on the internet.
Unfortunately not, no. But so basically what happened is finding counseling after a loss, like grief supports, there were so many that wasn't an issue at all. And I'm grateful, so very grateful to the many people who put the time in to provide grief support to those who need it. But trying to find a counselor for myself at the time was very difficult. And I also remember the process of having to basically go into that room, the nursery, and take everything down. It was just jarring. It was so much. And while I was in different support groups, I heard a lot of families talking about what they were going through with taking down things in the nursery, or there were other losses in the room too, where we may have had some seniors who had just experienced a loss and they had a whole house of stuff that needed to be packed up and moved out. And so that's basically what got Grief Compassion Network started, because at one point before the pandemic, we also went in and helped people pack up the things that their loved one left behind. And eventually we will be able to get back to that particular part of the mission as well. But that's actually what led me to become a counselor. So I am a pastoral counselor, and I work with people from children all the way up to seniors. Grief, marriage, and family are my specialties, and I love every bit of what I do.
That's
Good.
awesome.
That is good.
On the writing end of things, as time grows a little short here, this is your first book that you've written, correct?
Well, now she's written two.
Yeah, well, you're in the process of the second one, but I mean, what was it like going into getting started doing it? What kind of obstacles did you run into?
Because you weren't someone who was, burning to write a book. This came out of necessity, right?
Right. It was it was, so poetry was something I used to write all the time when I was younger. And when I first experienced the loss, I wrote a lot of poetry, and they were very dark. But it was a part of just emoting and getting some of that expression out. And when I started seeing that there really wasn't a lot there specifically for children, as it relates to them experiencing this loss, I knew I wanted to do something about that. And that's kind of what got me started. There were a few obstacles, one being that I was grieving myself. And so that was a little hard, because it was a matter of being able to get what needed to be put on page, but also make sure that it's not so heavy and overwhelming. So battling my own feelings as I was working through the process of writing, that was probably the biggest obstacle. But the goal of the project was for it to be something where when parents are reading this book to their children, the child is getting understanding, but the parent is getting comfort also. So it's a family book, although it is a children's book.
Yeah, that's quite a balance to have to achieve.
Oh, yes.
But I like children's books, so
Yeah.
I don't think I'm the only one.
You're not. I like children's books too.
Yeah, it's fun to read them to children. So, and you always learn something. I mean, we have a grandson that liked trains, and so I learned an awful lot about trains.
Yeah.
Reading him children's books about trains. Yeah. Now you're going to have book number 3 and book number 4 that we can be looking forward to. And this will also deal with the same subject?
Well, book 3 is going to be a coloring book, and it's actually called Butterflies in Kindergarten. So it's a book that's specifically about a little one going off and leaving home to go to school. And sometimes there could be separation anxiety with children after they have experienced loss in their life. And so that one's more interactive. It's a coloring book, but also still has a story. And the 4th and final one of the series is actually called Nursery Pets. And that this one is about losing a pet.
Good.
That's awesome.
And so children experience, that's sometimes one of their first experiences with grief. And so I wanted to be able to incorporate that. And I'm really excited about that one because it really helps to we put basically those pets in the nursery with the other babies. So in the story, we kind of talk about how the pets that leave us here, they do another job, elsewhere. They go somewhere else and they have a new job. And so that's what that one's about.
Well, it's hard for adults to lose pets. I know that we've lost quite a few, but our neighbor has always been a cat lady. She's always had cats, and she has a cat now. Her cat's almost 18 years old. But they got their first dog about, how old is Bob? His name is Bob. I love that.
Bob, how cute.
14,
probably
maybe?
14, yeah.
And he's having a rough time. And she said to me the other day that this was her first dog. And she said she'd lost cats. She said, but wow, it's different when it's a dog. She said, I feel like I'm losing a kid. And I said, no kidding. It does. It's hard on everyone. And I know that one of our grandsons lost his dog. I don't remember when she died, but it's still over a year and it still bothers him.
It doesn't, well, I won't say it never gets better, but it stays with you,
Well, our last dog that we lost was a little poodle. Her name was Rachel, and she'd had a rough life. She got cancer, and this was crazy. Our vet had been our friend. Okay, so by the time she passed, he had been our friend and our veterinarian for 20 years, and so he'd gone through a lot of dogs with us. And, but she was sick for 6 years, and he really kept her alive for those 6 years. And, like I said, she had cancer, and the last year of her life, he got esophageal cancer. Oh yeah. It was so painful because he died in May, and she died the next month.
Wow.
And it was horrible because we didn't have Bruce with us to help us through the loss. He'd always helped us before, and then it was awful to see him going through his struggle, and he's still trying to help us and her. And it was just a very difficult time. So death is something that happens to all of us. We're all going to die. If you don't know this yet, people, here's a spoiler alert.
Yes.
What?
Yes,
everybody experiences loss.
It's true.
And for some reason, it's something we don't talk about a lot,
It's interesting. I get on a big soapbox about this, and I try not to, but I really do wish we would, as a society, talk about it more, because the truth is just like breathing, death is finite. It is absolutely a part of the circle of life, if you will.
Yeah.
And when we don't acknowledge it and we don't want to talk about it, we don't address it, then we don't prepare. We don't allow people the time to prepare. And I often say that how children grieve, or their grief style that they learn from their families and the people around them. So if you are a family that don't talk about loss, or if someone does pass away and everyone's trying to be strong and no one's expressing any emotion or thought or anything, then that's what the kids learn. And it doesn't mean that that's who they are. That's just what they learn. And so when they do get older and they start experiencing real losses, they then battle with who they are and what they feel versus what they've been shown they're supposed to express. So we're doing the community a disservice when we don't talk more about grief and loss and the different layers of bereavement.
As I told you earlier before the show, I'm 75 years old, and Rob is also in his 70s. And one of our grandsons, and as I told you, we have 14, and one of our grandsons is about 22 now, I think 21 or 22. I don't know. I got a lot of grandsons. And he started talking about us passing away earlier this year. It's really been bothering him. I have chronic kidney disease and amongst other things. But with COVID, I think it became very real to everybody that they might be losing us sooner rather than later. And and so he comes to us for comfort for us passing away. And I think that's really healthy. I think it's really healthy that he can say, I don't know what I'm going to do when I lose you, you know?
Yes.
And it's healthy for us to be able to say, you're going to be okay. You know, we're going to be close to you always. You can always talk to us, whether we're here in the body or not.
Yes.
You can talk to us.
It's so incredibly healthy.
Yeah. And he said, our family has always been a pretty open family. I think there aren't any taboo subjects. You'd be amazed what some of our kids have talked to us about when they were teenagers. I think other people would have gone, ooh, that was uncomfortable. And we're like, no, it wasn't.
Whatever.
Yeah. As life, folks, these things happen. And so I can see him preparing himself for that loss. And I think that's really good. You know,
it is.
He said, do you think God will prepare me? And I said, I know he will. I know he is right now, you know.
Yeah. And I believe just him getting a chance to talk to you guys about it, this is the preparation, you know, this is a part of that preparation. You know, it's interesting. I say this all the time. The greatest gift that we could each give our family members is planning, is knowing, you know, and talking to our family about what we want to happen when we're gone, how, you know, basically life insurance, any plan, anything you can put in place that'll make it easier for the family as it relates to the logistics of a loss is important, but not just the logistics, but just being able to have these types of conversations, because this is what they're going to pull from in their darkest moments. They're going to be pulling from, well, grandma said this to me, or grandpa told me that. That's what's going to play. Now, they will still hurt, but they'll be able, the thing they're going to look for the most in their hurt place is comfort. So being able to discuss it is important. And I actually discuss it with my kids, not often, but often enough. You know, they're 6 and they're 8. I talk to them about it on their level and at their age. And I didn't say this earlier in the podcast, I'm actually in heart failure. And so it's because my heart's on the right side and I have some defects with the heart itself. So we talk about this in our house. Why? Because I don't think I'd ever want to be gone and my kids didn't hear anything from me that could be something that can prepare them for comfort.
Right. You could have told us that before the podcast.
Sorry.
No, I'm just kidding.
We make a joke out of everything in our family.
We do too here.
Really sorry. Well, then that's why your pregnancies were such a shock. That makes sense. Yeah, that is important, though. I mean, I didn't go into all the things that I have, but I have quite a few chronic diseases, and it's which some I've had since I was very young, and I've had 2 heart attacks. So I had what they call a near-death experience. What my doctor says, you died and you were gone for a few minutes. So I just think it's something we all need to talk about, because just because your heart is on the right-hand side of your body doesn't mean that somebody else isn't going to die before you. That happens all the time. None of us know how long we have on this earth, but we do know this: we're all going to die.
Right. And preparation is most important. And when I say preparation, again, having conversations, putting things in place, the greatest gift you can give to your family and your friends is them not having to try to figure out everything once you are gone.
Also, to be able to talk to your children, and in our case, our grandchildren, to reassure them of your love and how much you love them and how important they are to you. Yes. And that love and that comfort of knowing that you love them and think they are the best thing that God has ever created is something they can keep forever. You know what I mean? So you want that to be your legacy, comfort and love, and in the fact that you do love them. You're not disappointed in them, that you think they're wonderful people, all of those things. We just happen to be blessed with perfect children and perfect grandchildren, so it was easy.
Worked out good. They did all the work.
Yeah, we were just along for the ride. And I'm so glad we talked about all this, because it is something that needs to be talked about, It
does. Thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. I really appreciate it. Appreciate it.
So glad that we could. So glad you wrote the books.
Yes.
Thank you.
So maybe when you're finished with this series, maybe the writing bug will have bitten you and you might want to write something else.
Well, there are actually other projects in the works too. My husband and I are co-authoring a book called Work Hard, Pray Harder. It's a devotional for people in the trades.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's writing is going to be a part of life, I think, from now on. So,
that's wonderful.
You'll
That's
have
great.
To keep us posted on.
On all the different things. So I was just texting with one of my daughters earlier today, and we were talking about different things and getting through them and stuff. And that's one of the things I said was, I just constantly pray. That's all.
That's all we can do a lot of the time.
The day.
Let's go back over a couple of those important websites. One is naomiscircle.org to get help. Also, we have griefcompassionnetwork.org. And then, of course, Shaniqua's website is skaranja.com. So those are some important places to reach out for help and to have a conversation.
Absolutely.
So I want to thank you.
And to buy the book.
And to buy the book. Absolutely. Shaniqua, it's been great having you on the show, and wish you all the best.
Amen.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. I've had a blast here today.
We
It's
have
been
too.
Good. It's been really good.
Hold on, don't go away.
Yeah, don't
We've
go
got
away.
to
Wait
run
till-
through a few commercials, and we'll
Right.
talk to you at the end of the broadcast.
Yeah, when we come back to you, then we've got a couple of other things to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to push you over there. There we go. That didn't hurt, did it?
Nope.
Okay, that's good. That's good. One thing I forgot to mention to everybody was immediately following this show, you need to pop over to Voice of Indie podcast on blogtalkradio.com with host Beam Weeks and Stephen Gary G's. You can also connect on Twitter at Fresh Ink Group. You look at the pinned tweet there, and you can comment by using hashtag Fresh Ink Group if you have any questions or comments for the authors that they're interviewing. Or you can call in and be a part of the radio show on area code 516-453-9902. And that's actually every Wednesday right after our show is the Voice of Indie podcast.
And sometimes we call in because we don't talk enough on
That's right.
on this show. So then we have another hour.
And of course, next Wednesday, don't forget to join us for UK author S. Lewis Campbell, author, publisher, and editor.
Don't miss her.
Really good episode.
Yes, it is.
So
it's fascinating.
I guess that's pretty much all we have to talk about tonight.
I think so too.
Until next time.
That's all, folks.
Night.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DB.com.
You've been listening to WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.